Everything in this universe has a beginning. The Big Bang. The formation of nebular matter into stars and planets. The first collections of amino acids in the Earth's oceans. The first creatures to leave them. The first mammals. The first primates that walked upright. The first religion. The first printing press.
Pump up your space boots and phone home. It's time for Let's Find Out with co-host Diego.
Live. To tape from the mothership. It's Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. Bigfoot, UFOs, Stargates, let's find out. Paranormal, intelligent design, entertainment, let's find out. You're listening to Let's Find Out with co-host Diego.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Find Out with the co-host Diego. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. On this episode of Let's Find Out, urban legends. They've been circulating around the world for thousands of years. But on this episode, we'll be narrowing it down to one of my favorite states of all time, Ohio. We'll be joined by the founder of Ohio Urban Legends, where they explore and share urban legends and paranormal stories from different locations around that state. With a growing YouTube channel, along with his children, they talk about all cool, creepy things around Ohio. Please welcome to Let's Find Out, Josh Roberts. Josh, my friend, welcome to Let's Find Out. Thank you for being here.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and I think before we begin, I don't recall how I stumbled on the YouTube channel, and I think it was because I saw something on Instagram and I clicked on it, and then which led me to the website. Actually, it was the website, but it's a YouTube channel, and then I started watching the videos, and I started seeing a lot of things that I remember when I was living in Ohio. Yeah, I heard of that. A few things I did not hear about, but before we get to the YouTube channel, and then the other thing we'll talk about later, let's talk about how this first began. What is your background in this, and what got you interested in exploring with the urban legends and paranormal?
Yeah, absolutely. The urban legend stuff, I was always into Halloween and scary movies and creepy stuff when I was younger. When I was in high school, this is pre, internet and cell phones, and it was all word of mouth. And we would just, when we had nothing better to do, we'd drive around in the country, which is, 20 minutes down the street from us in the Cleveland area. And we would just hear about the witches ball and Helltown and these creepy urban legends, but we were always kind of freaked out to go check them out. And I was just always kind of interested in it. Then the internet came around and you started looking stuff up. And my cousin Kim and her husband, they were really into the paranormal stuff, and they would go ghost hunting and do paranormal investigations. And I was always like, nah, I don't want to do that. I'm not really that interested in that. And they got me to go, like, I don't even know, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. We went to the Ohio State Reformatory, which is, if you look up the most haunted place in Ohio, that's going to be number 1 or 2 or top 3. And we did an overnight investigation, and I was hooked. I was just absolutely hooked from it. I was so skeptical going in, and at the end of the night at like 5 a.m, I was like, I like this. I really want to do this more. I love the history of the building, walking around in the dark. The Shawshank Redemption was a lot of that was filmed there. So just the historical part of that building was just appealing to me. And really from there, I just, with my cousins, we formed, my cousin's husband's last name is Moore, Moore. And we just decided to form an Instagram page called More Paranormal. And we just started documenting our investigations. We like going into cemeteries, looking at abandoned buildings. And really from there, I started, doing some urban legend stuff. And I'd go out to local cemeteries or investigate local urban legends. And I was like, I'll start my own Ohio Urban Legend page and learn about him. And that's really how it started and where I'm at today.
With the seeing is believing, going back to your first experience with the paranormal investigating, was there anything in particular before you even started doing that and talking about urban legends? And I'm going to go back to the youth because I know there are several things when I was growing up that grabbed my attention, especially the subject of ufology. Was there something there kind of like a seed that was planted before you even started, gaining momentum into, wanting to explore the paranormal or reading up on these things?
No, it was just really watching watching scary movies and stuff when I was younger, and just loving Halloween. Halloween's probably my favorite, holiday, I guess, during the year. And just kind of all came together at the perfect time. It was, right before we started doing a lot of the paranormal investigations before COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, there was nothing really to do. We couldn't go anywhere. So it made sense for me to just start going and exploring outside and going into the woods and checking out these urban legends, because you were outside, you didn't have to wear a mask. And that really kind of just drove the Ohio urban legends portion.
Well, the channel is growing now, and you put out a lot of very interesting material. Like we talked about before the show, that there's a few things that I do remember when I lived there in Ohio, and one caught my attention because I haven't heard about it. But I'm going to save that almost for semi-last, because I think it's one of the more interesting ones I looked at on the channel. Let's start with something that is a little more well-known, the Ohio Grassman. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so when I wanted to start the YouTube channel was, the idea behind that was, let's explore the urban legend. Let's talk about it. I'll talk about, every urban legend has 100 different stories to it. So we'd always I would try to just pick on the most popular ones that were there, and always encourage people to comment if they've heard anything different, because there's always a different story, right? And I always wanted to, I wanted to add animation and pictures and get people's their own thoughts about it going, and their own visuals, and just kind of create a story about it. And just I didn't want the videos to be 20-30 minutes long. I just wanted to be short and to the point, and really create something for people to go out and do. At the end of the videos, I say, hey, if go visit these, but be respectful of your surroundings. But it's just such a cool thing to do, and I'm doing it with my kids. And when I start telling them about the Ohio Grassman, what? I loved Bigfoot when I was little.
Yeah.
Harry and the Hendersons was one of our favorite movies. We went to the theater and saw it. When it was out on VHS, we were watching it all the time. I've watched it with my kids. They loved it. So that was just, a no-brainer for them to do with me. And what's cool about the Ohio Grassman is Bigfoot is a nationally recognized cryptid, right? It's a urban legend across almost all of the United States. But the Grassman is, specific to Ohio. And we get into talking about how that formed and started. And when I talk to my kids about stuff, they're like, oh, what's a cryptid? What's the Grassman? What's Bigfoot? I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's explain what a Yeti is. And in the cool thing about the urban legend page is we go to the city, or we go to the location, and we film on site. So we went to Minerva, Ohio. That's where the Minerva monster, or the Grassman, or Bigfoot was really kind of started. And we go and we, depending on the location, if there's too much noise or sound, we'll try to film something there, take recording, or we'll just explore around the town and just have a good time doing the videos.
I can tell, and we're going to talk about a few of the other ones, but it's interesting how this is more like a family affair thing with Ohio urban legends, because it's special, really, because it's very rare to have children go out and do an exploring anymore, especially about subjects like this.
Yeah, and it kind of started with COVID. We had nothing else to do, and when I was younger, we would river walk. We would go into the local rivers, and we would just walk or ride our bikes in the river, and it was a blast. And with COVID, we had nothing to do. I was like, hey, let's go river walking, and my kids are like, what is that? And I just go get on some junky clothes, and we'd drive to the Metro Park area, and we would just walk up and down the river for an hour, 2 hours. And we were just having a blast. And there was no cell phones, no iPads. And, we'd get back to the car and have to change in the trunk. Like, it was just such a good family, like, just memories we were creating. And then I was like, okay, let's go do the Grassman video. Let's go talk about Bessie, the Lake Erie monster. And they kind of got into it a little bit too. So it's pretty cool that, we have this stuff documented, and when I'm older, they can look back on it and watch the videos, and hopefully they have a good time remembering them.
No, and they look like you're having a great time. And which brings me to what I was going to mention earlier. It's great to have the kids go out, no iPads, no cell phones, but you can still learn when just walking the trail. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And when I was little, we had a lot of woods behind us, and we would just spend hours in the woods just building teepees and running around and pretending that we were Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and
Yeah.
to kind of recreate a lot of those moments with my kids and watch them have fun. It makes all of this just more enjoyable for us to do.
No, it definitely shows. And it's fun to watch. And what brings me to let's talk about the next video. I mean, there are several on there, and I'm picking out the ones that stand out the most because, especially this one, Crybaby Bridge. When I lived in Ohio for a while, I did hear similar versions of that story. Now, this one is a little different because this one, I believe, is the one where the handprints are found in the vehicle. Is this and help it move along? Or?
Yeah, so the crybaby bridges are interesting because I'm pretty sure every state has hundreds of them, and Ohio has, I think the one page said there was like over 80 of them. I don't even know. There's just a ton. Every town has a crybaby bridge, and they all kind of have the same story around them, where there's, it's all around a mother in distress has to, get rid of her baby. She wasn't supposed to be married, or she wasn't supposed to get pregnant, and unfortunately has to throw her baby off the side of a bridge. And because of that, different sequences of events happen at the crybaby bridge. And it's either the sounds of babies crying, or you can hear knocking on the bridge, or like what you're referencing is if you park your car over the bridge. Now, this is before you had a key in your car. You had to turn your key to turn your car on or off, or in the ignition, right? So you drive your car over the bridge, turn the key off, and then either your car would start rolling backwards on its own, or rolling forward, or your car wouldn't be able to start back up when you turn the key. Or if you left your car to go explore on the bridge and you came back, there would be, baby handprints on the windshields or on the doors or on the car somewhere. There would be prints left on the car. So, or fog would come out from under the bridge and start coming after you. So there's so many cool stories around crybaby bridges. And we went to the most famous one in Ohio, in Salem, Ohio. We went and we checked it out. And and again, with going to Salem, we spent the night out there. We went to their downtown afterwards. We walked through all the shops. We went to the soda shop and we sat down and we talked to all the workers in there. And it was like the Crybaby Bridge urban legend was like almost secondary to us just having a blast visiting that town. And the people there were so great. And it's just, again, something we wouldn't have normally have done. And we're able to go explore this cool city, and explore cool Ohio, and then do an urban legend thing, and put it on YouTube. So it's all really cool.
Quite interesting stuff. Sometimes it's my opinion that the locations and stuff and the history is often more interesting than the actual urban legend itself.
Yeah, it's in a cool bridge or a cool tunnel is in Ashland, and I have pictures of it on our More Paranormal page, and I might have it on our Ohio Urban Legend page. It's just, I went there out by myself, and it's in the middle of Ashland. And you're driving, and all of a sudden your GPS is saying, hey, you're not in the area the GPS recommends. Be careful where you're going. And when you go to these places by yourself, and all of a sudden your GPS is saying you don't know where you're going, and then all of a sudden you pull up to this bridge, it has graffiti all over it. It's in the middle of nowhere. You give yourself the heebie-jeebies. I got out of the car. I was like, I'm gonna take some pictures and maybe record some stuff. And I'll tell you, it was one of the creepiest moments of me doing this. I got out of the car, I was taking pictures, and man, I could have swore I heard like this. I'm gonna recreate it. It was like a like over my shoulder. And I'm not kidding you. I had a pocket knife on me. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", a couple hundred pounds. I heard that noise. I got in my car, locked the doors, and left. I was like, I am out of here. Like, this is freaking me out. But stuff like that is just, I would have never have done that in a million years except doing this page. And it's just those things, and to talk about and share experiences with people is it's just enough. It adds more to it.
Now, with the pictures, the photos that you took, was there any anomaly or anything outstanding in the picture where it's like, oh, you captured something, or just the actual picture of that location, nothing crazy?
No, there was nothing crazy in the pictures, but I did take I took some of my ghost hunting equipment with me. I didn't even get it out. I didn't even get it out to mess with it because I was like, what is that? It sounded like there was a 30-foot bear in the woods that was coming after me. I was like, I'm out of here. And it was probably me, just psyching myself out, but it's a fun story to share, and it just makes me want to keep doing more of these things. So I did go out there and visit again one other time, and it didn't creep me out as much, but maybe one day I'll take the ghost hunting equipment back out there and see if I can capture anything.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question is, did you go back? But you said you did. So you didn't have that experience that second time.
No, I didn't. I knew, I think it's part of, we went to go to the Bel Air house down in Bel Air, Ohio. It's one of the most haunted houses in the United States. And before we went to go, there was a couple haunted cemeteries down there with some urban legends tied to them. And the one is called Salem Cemetery. And to get to the cemetery, we didn't know where we were going. We are completely, relying on GPS, unfamiliar. We're 3.5 hours away from our home. And to get to this cemetery, we had to drive on like dirt rock road in the middle of farmland, and it feels like you're driving for miles, and it's really like 2 miles, but it feels like it's the end of the world. And just that part, it just adds to the creepiness of what you're about to go explore. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're driving on this dirt road. We have to drive 5 miles an hour. You get to a cemetery in the middle of nowhere, and you just are creeped out. And it's just, I don't know. It's something like I've never experienced before. It's different than going to, a movie with 100 people in the theater and you're getting popcorn, and it's just a cool experience. So I think that's why I like doing it. I like promoting it, and I hope that people will go and enjoy it like I do.
So how big is that cemetery in that area? What's the landscape like? Is there any other homes or abandoned buildings around it? Because it seems like a cemetery out in the middle of nowhere.
There's literally like nothing around it.
Wow.
And you feel like you're driving forever. And it was funny because we had three carloads of people, because we were all spending the night at Bel Air, and we were all texting like, where are we? Where the hell are we? What's going to happen? Right. We're like, let's just keep going. We're almost there. And, it's almost when you get there, it's like, if you ever seen the movie Goonies, when they find the pirate ship at the end of the movie, and it's like, you put in all this work, and there's the pirate ship, and there's the treasure, and that's what it's like. And me and my friends went to go find this abandoned cemetery, and we had no idea where it was. The internet was like, it's across the road from an abandoned golf course or whatever. And we're like, let's just go find it. And we're walking around. There's prickers, going into our pants and into our shirts. And we're like, where the hell is this? Where are we? What are we doing? And then my buddy, he's like 50 yards away. He's like, I found it. And we're like running over there, and we get up there and we're like, holy cow, this is it. We found it. We're taking pictures. We're like, this is it. It's just, it's just like a cool scavenger hunt, treasure hunt. And you're just excited to find something that not a lot of people have seen, and to share that. It's just all, it's all pretty cool.
So these areas, is there asking permission from a landowner? I know going to locations, you have to get some sort of special permission to enter, but this is just kind of just out there ready to be explored, right?
So I am a stickler with no trespassing. So if I see no trespassing signs, I will not. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to share abandoned locations where any people following us can get in trouble going into. So everything that we go to, it's all public. It's easy, it's there's no trespassing signs or private property signs. It's all open to the public to go view or look at any of these places. So
No, I guess that's better that way. I mean, there's a certain level of danger. There's a no trespassing sign. There's there for a reason, especially remote areas.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to set that precedent with my kids that we're trespassing or we're not obeying like the rules. And people, people put private property up for a reason. I want to share the good in all of this stuff. I don't want people to get in trouble.
Right. No, you're doing the right thing. Now, the third one brings me because I've never heard of this urban legend, and it sounds. I think it's pretty awesome, especially the animation in the video. I really, for the listeners of Let's Find Out, I urge you go to the YouTube channel, watch this video. Melon Heads, my man. This is the first time I ever heard this. It kind of brings me back to loosely. Does this anything have to do with black-eyed children? Is there any connection to that legend there? Because it's almost similar, but not.
Yes, it could, depending on what stories have you heard. It could be tied to something like that. This one's probably my favorite. This one started with me and a girl I was talking to at the time. We were, I don't know, 22, 23 years old. So this is, over 20 years ago. We went to go see a band play, and this is the east side of Cleveland, which I'm a west sider. So it was like a 40-minute drive to get out there. And I've been out that way a million times. And the girl we were passing Kirtland, Ohio, and she was like, oh, the Melon Heads are over here. And I was like, the Melon Heads? What are you talking about? And I'm thinking, like lemon heads, like the candy. She's like, no, the Melon Heads. There's kids with swollen heads that glow in the dark. They're roaming around in this area. And I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? And we were just talking about it, laughing. And, it was one of those things. I started looking into it. Again, this is like really before a lot of internet stuff. So it was really hard to dig and find out information on any of this stuff. It was all word of mouth. Then obviously like the internet exploded and there's 1,000 stories. But, the animation in that was from one of my good buddies. His name is Brent Potts. He does amazing artwork, and he's helped me out he actually designed the Ohio Urban Legends logo. He designed our More Paranormal logo. I asked him to help me out with the animation work on Melon Heads because I wanted it to be really cool. I was freezing cold doing that video on the side of the road, by the way. I wanted to be on site on the road of where a lot of that was taking place. And yeah, the background on that is there's a couple different stories to that. There was a man named Dr. Crow. He was experimenting with children and maybe an orphanage or in a hospital or something, or in a cabin in the area over there. And he was injecting their heads with chemicals, and it made their heads swell up, and possibly their heads were glowing in the dark, and they escaped from, whatever location they were at, and people would spot them in the woods. And, depending on what story you heard, like the Melonhead kids would eat animals and leave their carcasses around, or they'd be seen on the side of the road. But because they had nowhere to go, they would work their way back to the hospital or cabin or wherever they were in the woods. Or the other part is that it was, the government was testing on humans, and the same things. They were injecting kids, and their heads swelled up, and they made their way over to a couple of different roads over there. And there's a cool little cemetery where people say it's haunted, and at night you can see the Melon Heads. And there's a ton of different stories to that urban legend. And it's just, I think I put this in the video. It's like every time I pass the Kirtland sign or the Menor sign over there, I'm like, oh man, we gotta watch out for the Melon Heads. It's just such a cool urban legend for that area. And that's Melon Heads are probably, if you do, a top 10 urban legends of Ohio, that's usually in the top 10 for urban legends in Ohio. Gore Orphanage, Melon Heads, Ohio State Reformatory, Crybaby Bridges, all that stuff is usually in the top 10 lists.
One of those things where I was highly entertained by the video. I'm always happy to learn something new because I always think, well, I've heard pretty much everything there is to hear, which is not true. up until I read to that video. Very well done, by the way. And I've also seen where you're actually going out to the town and asking people questions about these legends, in their town.
Yeah, that was, it's funny. That was actually my mom's idea. My mom was like, why don't you talk to why don't you talk to locals and see what they say about it? And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to bother anybody. And when I got to the Loveland Frog, that's one that has probably, in my opinion, the most amount of different stories to it. There's just a million different variations to the story or what was heard or said. And I went out to Loveland by myself. And again, that is such a cool little town. And there's just the downtown area is just, you could spend a whole day there. I went into a record store and, they just little shops. It's all like little boutique shops. And it's like a nice drive to get out there. For me, that was a 3-hour drive to get down there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to my mom. I'm going to talk to some locals and see what they said. And I approached 3 different people, and they were like, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about it." And they each told me 3 different stories. And I could have probably talked to 5 or 6 more people, and they would have probably added more into the story. So I always try to say in my videos, hey, if you've heard anything more, let me know. Comment. Kind of trying to make it social and hear other people's variations of the stories.
We're talking about 3, but let's dive into the Loveland Frog because yet again something else I have never heard of. So if you want to give a quick dive into that, and that'd be great.
Yeah. So, the Loveland Frog was, a long time ago. It's all these stories start with a long time ago. Again, before internet and phones and everything. A businessman was driving down the road. He thought he saw this giant frog or these frogmen on the side of the road. He got out to, check it out to see what it was. And depending on whatever story you hear, he either just saw the frogs and he got freaked out and left, or the other story is that one of the frogs raised up a wand and light came out of it and it spooked him and he took off. And he told people about the story. And then the police, like years later, saw something they thought was a frog, and then that was documented. And then all of a sudden people start saying they saw something like a frog on the side of the road. And that urban legend just grew and grew and grew. And what's really cool about the Loveland Frog urban legend is the town there really kind of adapted into it. They're like, yeah, let's sell T-shirts with the Loveland Frog on it. I think I don't even know if they still do, but they used to do a 5K marathon race, and the frog was sponsored. The coffee shop I went to, they sold little frog memorabilia. They've kind of embraced that urban legend in the community. So, look, to me, that's a cool. I wish my town had a little cool urban legend that we tied to it and bring people into the town and go into a coffee shop to buy a little, frog trinket or something. So, and for me, I drove 3 hours to go down there. I spent money down there. I made a video and promoting, not only am I promoting urban legends, but I'm promoting Loveland, Ohio as a cool place to go check out. So.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. It's like here in where I'm at in West Virginia. This town's very far away, but Mothman is a huge thing in that town. It brings tourists from around the country. I think it's a big tourist attraction, and I'm sure the Loveland Frog is as well. You have several videos already under your belt. What's coming up next for the channel? What can we be expecting? What other legends will you be teaching us about?
Yeah, so we're gonna do a couple different things. So we're gonna try to hit on all of the Ohio urban legends. We're gonna try to do all of them, and it's gonna take. There's so many, and when I first started the channel, I'm like, am I gonna run out of material here? And it's gonna be over in a year. This could go on for years and years and years with the amount of urban legends in Ohio. And I'm working on the Witch's Tower, which is out in Kettering. That's a really cool urban legend. I'm actually working on getting an animation built on that now. We're also doing, if the urban legend isn't long enough to make a 3 or 4 minute YouTube video, I'm doing these, what I'm calling a cemetery story. And it's, for example, so we have 2 of them already. And the one there's a haunted tombstone and there's a little bit of haunted history. It's all about 1 minute worth of urban legend stuff. But right down the street is another little cemetery with the witch's grave where, an alleged witch is buried there, and the tombstone has repeatedly been struck by lightning. It's all of about 1 minute worth of discussing, but I can make that into one cool video and say, hey, you know what? Come explore Ohio. And I talk about it. Come explore Ohio. Come check out these two cemeteries. They're 10 minutes, they're 5 minutes apart from each other. You can explore these cool places. Here are the history behind them. And I can make a video about it and put it out there. So we're calling those Ohio cemetery stories. And so we'll do a bunch of those in between the time it takes to make the big urban legend videos, which they take a lot of time to have the animation built and the scripts made, and I do the editing myself. I know it's not like the best, but I'm trying to keep it like down to earth with the videos, and try to make it cool for everyone to watch. So
and it is cool. And I also do the editing for the show, so I get it. There's a lot of challenges, but you learn each time, a new method or something to bring to the dance. So you're doing great stuff. And one of the things, and I know you mentioned it earlier, and at the end of each video, you make a very specific point to ask everyone to be very respectful of where it is that you go, respectful of the property, the cemeteries, because you don't want to go in there and junk it up.
Yeah, there's a Ohio, I think it's called Ohio Abandoned Locations or something on Facebook. And when I joined it, there was like 10,000 people, maybe not even, maybe it was like 5,000 people. And again, when COVID hit, this page blew up. I could probably look right now, but there's probably a couple 100,000 followers on this page. And the big thing on the page is don't share the location, because a lot of times people will see these abandoned locations and they'll go graffiti or spray paint them or knock down tombstones or whatever. And that's not what this is about. And I kind of got I got that ending of my page kind of from that page, where it's, go look at these places, but don't touch them. Don't knock down tombstones. Don't graffiti them, leave them. These things should last for hundreds of years, and it's unfortunate when you go into some of these abandoned cemeteries and you see tombstones pushed over or knocked down or graffiti on stuff. It's kind of unfortunate that my kids won't be able to maybe go and explore some of those locations. So that's why I try to make a point of it at the end, like, hey, please be respectful of your surroundings. And a lot of these places, like the witch's grave, someone's house is right next door to that. Like literally there's the grave, and 50 feet over there's a fence and there's someone's house. And I don't think those people really want loud kids driving around in their cars and being loud in the cemetery. Like, go be respectful, get some pictures, get some video, do your video, and leave it for the next person to come do the same thing that I did. So I try to make a point of that.
It's a great point as well. And before we go, I know we also talked about more paranormal. What's coming up next with the group?
Yeah, more paranormal. So we try to go visit 4 to 5 different haunted locations in Ohio. We've gone to some places outside of Ohio that are close. We've actually are sponsoring the Riders Inn, which is one of Ohio's most haunted hotels or inns in Ohio. We sponsor them. So meaning we promote some of the stuff they do at the inn. We're going to be able to do a couple of private investigations there next year, where people would be able to join more paranormal and stay the night there. And we'll provide all of the equipment and tell everyone how to use the equipment, and we'll have the place all to ourselves. So we'll be planning a couple of those. And then we're just going to be looking at bucket list items of haunted places in Ohio. We're always looking for new cool places. I would say the coolest thing about the More Paranormal is we've met people from all over the United States and actually all across the world, networking with them and talking about paranormal stuff. I have a good buddy on there. He's from Australia, and he will send me cool links. He'll send me cool video. He'll message me. We'll talk about our family. He'll ask me about my kids. We have a good buddy in New Jersey that we met. So the paranormal community is so cool and so close. And just doing the more paranormal stuff and the Ohio Urban Legends, it's just a neat thing to meet people from all over and just exchange cool, creepy paranormal activities with each other.
If you don't mind, down the road, later this year, get a few more videos and a few more locations you go to explore. Come back on the show if you don't mind sharing your stories, because I'm sure the listeners really want to know more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We'll share, we try to, and with the more paranormal stuff is we're not the experts in any of this stuff. So if we're unsure of a picture we see or video, we'll put it on our page and we'll say, hey, what is this? Does anybody know what this is? Can anybody help us out? We don't claim to be true paranormal investigators or ghostbusters. We're just out to have some fun, and we're learning as we go and meeting cool people as we do things and sharing cemetery pictures. And we have captured some pretty cool stuff that we share on there. And it's just been a cool experience. We've been doing that for a couple years now. We created a t-shirt page, so we sell some merch. So it's just that the more paranormal thing is more of a family thing, and it's kind of cool to be doing that with my cousin and her husband, and we've got my mom to go out a couple times and some other friends to go with us too. So it's pretty neat.
Awesome. And with that being said, other than the YouTube channel, where else can the listeners of Let's Find Out more paranormal and Ohio Urban Legends?
Yeah, so more paranormal. We're on both Facebook and Instagram. We're bigger on Instagram than we are on Facebook, so we share more stuff on Instagram. Ohio Urban Legends, we're on Instagram, Facebook. All of our videos are on YouTube. It's Ohio Urban Legends and Ghost Stories. I just started a TikTok for Ohio Urban Legends. So the TikTok is just more quick reels that we're sharing from our videos, trying to get people to come subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Awesome. Please, listeners of Let's Find Out, let's make an effort. Go take a look at all the great stuff they have for you to learn from. And Josh, thank you for being here on Let's Find Out. And like I said, please come back later this year and we'll discuss more about the amazing work you and your group are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love talking about all this stuff. It's a good time.
Thank you again. The pleasure's all on this side of the table. Thank you so much. This has been another excellent episode of Let's Find Out with me, co-host Diego. We invite you to check out our YouTube page out. Hey, we just started that not too long ago. Please come help us out. Smash that like button, share it, like, subscribe, do what you can do. Our social media to keep up with all our new episodes coming out and news. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, my friends.
Thank you for listening to Let's Find Out with co-host Diego. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, and on Anchor. For more information about Let's Find Out with co-host Diego, please visit us on Facebook.com/co-host Diego, on Twitter at co-host_Diego, and on Instagram as co-host Diego. Copyright co-host Diego. All content for Let's Find Out is the property of co-host Diego and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, co-host Diego, or Let's Find Out. The information shared on Let's Find Out is provided on an as-is basis with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.